Now, back to our top story. Australia's leading spy, the spy boss, in fact, has sent a pretty big wake-up call to the nation's leaders. Not political leaders, but business leaders too. Espionage is a real threat that we're not taking seriously enough. ASIO boss Mike Burgess made an extraordinary speech claiming his department is as busy as it's ever been in history. He described it as hand-to-hand combat. That's what it felt like. It raises the question whether ASIO and even government, businesses, the corporate sector are equipped to handle the challenges facing us and our security. Joining me live now is a Deputy Liberal leader, Sussan Ley. Sussan, thanks so much for your time. This was a stunning speech from Mike Burgess. How did you feel when you heard this warning?
It reminds us, Laura, that we all need to take national security incredibly seriously, and for the Director-General of ASIO to say the things that he did and to actually say that he had been pressured to go soft on espionage and foreign interference is incredibly concerning, and we want this government to take national security seriously.
Does that surprise you,
not use it as a political talking point?
He wasn't talking about the political class here. He was talking about business leaders and also some in academia. It's extraordinary.
It is extraordinary, and for him to actually say that publicly means that it is something that this government, and in fact all parliamentarians, need to take seriously. Now, we had a strong record in government around foreign interference. What I don't like in the national debate is the Labor Party attaching something as serious as our democracy and our sovereignty to their latest political push, the National Reconstruction Fund. Yesterday it was the safeguards measure. They're saying that we need to pass this legislation that is unrelated to national security, which, let's face it, always should be bipartisan. We need to tie their legislation to national security, and really that indicates that they're not taking it seriously. And it's really important, as I said, that democracy and sovereignty and foreign interference remain separate, completely separate from debates we might have about individual pieces of legislation.
Okay, so but what should be done about these business leaders that Mike Burgess has called out? He's essentially accused some of our top business leaders, assuming they're from some of the top companies doing business with China, that they are essentially putting profit before national security.
Well, our economic and trade relationships are important, but they should never come before national security. So I think that was a clear call to action to anyone, as you say, Laura, to business leaders, to anyone in the media, to anyone in academia. It was a very clear message from the Director-General.
Should they be called out? Should we know who these business leaders are?
Well, I think Mike Burgess pretty much did call out the issue, and
we don't have the names of these companies
for him to do that,
or the CEOs behind it though, and they're the ones with a lot of power.
I think they would have heard those remarks. I'm sure they would have, and I'm sure they'll be heeding them right now. And actually, you know, they carry more weight than anything that a Member of Parliament could say, because somebody like Mike Burgess, who is incredibly well respected for the work that he does, the position that he holds, and, you know, the weight of responsibility that's with him every day. He obviously receives security briefings that you and I don't receive, Laura.
Yeah.
Certain members of the government do, and parliamentary committees do, but this is something that stands, as I said, in a bipartisan sense, quite separate. And you know, I want the government to take notice too.
Does it concern you that some CEOs can essentially act with impunity? They're private companies, they go to visits in other countries that they're obviously doing business with, they curry favour, you know, all these normal business practice. But in the light we've seen, and since hearing the words of Mike Burgess last night, is there anything government can or should do to be able to rein this in?
Well, they should actually demonstrate that they take national security seriously. When they tie the AUKUS agreement to the passage of a bill in the Parliament called the National Reconstruction Fund, which is about domestic manufacturing, that's not taking national security seriously. When they say that we need to pass their safeguards legislation, which is all about energy and a tax on big companies, and they say that somehow that's linked with national security, I think that that shows they're not taking it seriously. For Mike Burgess to say that this is the highest level of espionage and foreign interference that we've experienced at any time in Australia's history, and that includes the Cold War, is really quite a statement, as you've indicated, Laura. Everyone should sit up and take notice.